This piece is called Releasing Me. I am finally releasing my mind and setting it free, not just in rhetorical theory, but in reality, harnessing that same energy that fuels my fears and insecurities and using it to perform in a different capacity. I am using that renewed energy to fly. With the wingspan of infinite possibilities, I am soaring high into that cerebral place that is patiently holding space for me to come on in and be whatever. I can be that Renaissance woman. I can be that spiritual sister scribe with the universe of words as my tribe, writing to elevate and to feel, writing to motivate and to heal. Yes, I have that freedom. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Oh, Bob Marley's lyrics were always on time, but that Rasta man was far too fine for me to wrap my young mind around that message that he was trying to convey when I heard him back in the day. But that's okay. With age comes overstanding. And now I'm very clear on the essence of what he wanted me to hear. That for true liberation to begin, we must first start deep within. And I am so grateful for that clarity because now I can see that it's all up to me to tell my own story and control my destiny. And with this new thought, and in the absence of not, I can be all that I am. And that am is me, whole, abundant, and absolutely free. Not just in theory, but in complete reality. And so it is.
The Jones. So happy Freedom Weekend, everybody. If you were listening to the words that Linda just spoke, with it being Freedom Weekend, how perfect is it that she says, for true liberation to be, it must begin within me. That's what we're going to be talking about and thinking about and sharing about this morning. But before we take our attention away from the freedom of this nation and the fun and the time we spent with family and fireworks, let's just breathe in and allow these affirmations to become a part of your weekend, these affirmations about freedom. freedom, that's what we're talking about. So I invite you to join me in affirming some of the same kinds of affirmations, just in this moment, taking a deep breath, and then repeating after me. I am so happy I am free.
I am so happy I am free.
With freedom comes responsibility.
With freedom comes responsibility.
I choose to be bold and free.
I choose to be bold and free.
Freedom is my birthright.
Freedom is my birthright.
Freedom describes my life.
Freedom describes my life.
Freedom, freedom, freedom.
Freedom, freedom, freedom.
Take it in and know that this is the truth for you. It is the truth for me. It is the truth for all of us. For Ernest Holmes has reminded us in the Science of Mind that the divine plan is a plan of freedom. Bondage is not God ordained. Now, this whole idea of bondage, sometimes we think of that externally, of someone blocking our path or cutting us off or requiring us to do something we don't want to do, and we get into that victim mode. But in reality, bondage often is a reflection of our own thoughts and our own way of being. So I thought, let me actually check in with our founder, Ernest Holmes, and see what the Science of Mind textbook says about freedom. So in the glossary in the back of the textbook, you would find excerpts that include this under the definition of freedom. Real freedom means that man is created in the image of perfection, then left alone and allowed to make discoveries for himself. Freedom of will means the ability to do, say, and think as one wishes, to express life as one personally desires. As man realizes his oneness with creative mind, he is released from the bondage of false thinking. He sees, too, that freedom means liberty. So when we talk about freedom in Science of Mind, and what we teach in classes is just that real freedom means that we have free will and that we have been created with the ability and the opportunity to align ourselves with the natural laws, the universal principles, in order to create a life that we love. And we can be released from the bondage of false thinking. So bondage really isn't anything that happens externally or physically. At least that's not what I'm thinking about and sharing with you this morning. It's the bondage, the being tied up, being in knots that happens when we succumb to false thinking. So what we need to remember is that we are in infinite mind, and infinite mind is also within us. Each one of us is operating in an infinite universe, infinite mind, powering and being the source of all that has been created. And at the same time, infinite mind is operating in, as, and through each one of us based on our individual highest vision or stated desires, or sometimes our default behaviors. So, the universe being deductive only cannot refuse us anything. Now, we teach this principle that within the infinite universe, since it is working in, as, and through us, we can have anything that we really, truly want, and the universe will not say no. But the universe is not only listening to the prayer that you said one time, the universe is listening to your subconscious thoughts, the universe is paying attention to your emotion, and all of that together makes it very clear that which you are really asking for. And so the universe, being deductive, cannot refuse us anything. But what we teach is that there is a power for good in the universe available to all, and you can use it. That is what's happening when we make a claim in our teachings and in the way that we show up in the world that individuals should be free from sickness, poverty, and unhappiness. Now, I am very much aware that we don't use the word should very much. We always are saying, don't should on yourself and don't should on other people. So I'm very conscious that this quote has the word should in it. But if Ernest Holmes can say should every now and then we can use it every now and then. And the point that I believe he is making in this particular quote is that we should be, or we could be, free if we were actually applying all of the principles and working in cooperation with spiritual or universal law. So if I am doing that, then yeah, my life is going to show up and be free from sickness, poverty, and unhappiness. The point for today really is that that's possible, and I am free to choose that as my experience. Because the reality is that the very source that makes us sick or frustrated or angry or feeling out of harmony with the world, that exact same force is the power, the energy, the consciousness that has the ability to heal us or to give us a life that is happy, joyous, and free. Now, what do I mean by that? So the very force that makes us sick really is our belief or our reaction to what is happening in the world. That's what makes us unhappy, or that's what supports us not feeling our wholeness or our connection with the divine. Well, if it's simply our belief and our way of responding to what is going on, then we could use that same energetic. We could choose new beliefs, and we could choose new ways of showing up that would result in our life reflecting healing, wholeness, wellness, harmony, joy, peace, beauty, balance. Are you with me? Yeah, I mean, I could keep naming the list. So when we remember that the very force that is supporting what we, from our human state, think of as negative experiences, we could use that same power, those same principles, that same force to create something different. So the real questions for you to ask yourself are, number one, what do I believe? Like really, what do I believe? Not what sounds good, but what is it that I truly believe? And then number two, what do I choose? What am I choosing to do next? What am I choosing to constantly remind myself is that this is what's really important to me? What do I choose to have a life that I truly love? So I am choosing that I am happy, joyous, and free. And I don't know, is there anybody else in the room who might like a little happy, joyous, and free? Yeah, a few of you? Yes. So let's choose that. I'm free to choose to be happy. I'm free to choose to be joyous. I'm free to choose to be free in my experience of the world. And so that, of course, made me go see, well, what is our definition of happiness? And if you were to go to the glossary in the Science of Mind textbook, you would find in this philosophy, this way of life that we call Science of Mind, you would find some of these excerpts. Happiness is a state of well-being or enjoyment of good of any kind. Happiness in metaphysics means a state of inner peace, a consciousness of the goodness of God. We have a right to any happiness of which we can conceive, provided that happiness hurts no one and is in keeping with the nature of progressive life. We have a right to any happiness that we can conceive, as long as it hurts no one, and as long as it is in keeping with the nature of progressive life, life progressing onward, upward, into divine highest and best good. So if you have that right, why don't you use it? Okay, let me rephrase that. I ask myself, if I have that right, why am I not using it? And I invite you to ask yourself that question too, because really what happens is that some of us suffer. Some of us are happy, some of us are unhappy, according to the way they contact life. And I like to reframe that and say, according to the way I contract with life. I'm making a contract with every affirmation that I speak. I am making a contract with universal presence when I am setting goals or when I am designing my life and creating a plan. And so I am going to make that contract one that leads me toward happiness, because this is the truth. No one judges us but ourselves. No one gives to us but ourselves. And I'm sorry to remind you that no one robs us but ourselves. The reality is we have the opportunity to create our lives. And that's what the Wednesday series is this month. It's creating or living a happy life. And we started last Wednesday because the Wednesdays fall before the Sundays this month. And through this series, we're looking at listening to your heart, being authentic, creating a plan, finding ways to practice, and then continuing to say yes. So this past Wednesday, we really started digging into this idea of listening to our hearts as a pathway to creating a life that is happy. And I invite you to join us any Wednesday. You can come every Wednesday or just once or twice. We're using as our guidebook Gretchen Rubin's The Happiness Project, and getting ideas from that. And we are just digging into practical applications for creating a happy life. So I invite you to join us on Wednesday nights from 7 to 8:30 p.m. right here in the sanctuary, and there is no cost, which is our typical practice for Wednesday series. So please join us. And this past Wednesday, as we began to open up to what is our heart really telling us, we just asked each other the question, what are 10 things that make you happy? So what are 10 things that make you happy? Begin to think in your own mind right now. I mean, it's your happiness. Your list isn't going to look like Kathy's, and Kathy's list isn't going to look like Hamid's, and Hamid's list is not going to look like Renee's. So what 10 things make you happy? And I would love it if 10 or 11 of you would just share one thing from your list of 10. Yes?
This thriving and inviting community of CSLDallas.
This thriving community, CSLDallas, a center for spiritual living. Volunteering and being able to give your gifts and talents. Someone over here?
My daughter.
Your daughter, absolutely. How cool is that to be able to say that? Because unfortunately, I know some people who wouldn't be saying that their daughter or son makes them happy. but I'm so glad that you can. Your granddaughter, and that connection from generations, it's enriching, right? It just brings you joy. 5 or 6 more people, something on your list of 10 things that make you happy. Yes.
Great night's sleep.
A great night's sleep. What's that? I'll have to try that. I saw another hand. If you can speak really loudly. Music makes her happy. Anybody else in here? Music makes them happy. And how fabulous is it that we have an amazing music team at CSLDallas? Yeah. And there was a hand down here? Yes. Being outside, right? Being in the creation of life itself. Not just human creation, but all the other creatures and plants that have been created that represent the power and the presence of spirit.
Loving support of friends and family, especially.
10 things that make you happy, and yes, that is probably on many of our lists. The loving support of family and friends, especially when it's needed. 1 or 2 more? Pets, yes. We love our pets, and they remind us there's much to be happy about in life.
Traveling all over the world and get to know new cultures and traditions.
Okay, I didn't get the first part of that. Oh, traveling around the world and getting to know lots of different people and different cultures. Yes, and one more.
Taking care of our physical body by eating good nutrition.
Taking care of our physical body by eating good nutrition. And did you hear the announcements earlier, right? That we as a community are going to be taking that up during the latter part of the summer, beginning in a couple of weeks, and that you'll have an opportunity to not only do that individually, but to join in. And that's one of the things that makes me happy, the fact that we are all a part of a community where we can do those kinds of things together, where we can have people show up to support us in the things that are important to us individually as well as collectively. So be thinking about your 10 things. Maybe many of the things that were just shared are on your list too, and you were just checking them off. But every one of us is a unique individual emanation of, different combination of divine God stuff. And so your list of 10 is probably going to have some things on it that maybe no one else in the room has. But knowing that gets you in touch with the kinds of things you can do to create a happy life. No one can be happy who lives in a continuous state of condemnation of people, condemnation of conditions, or condemnation of things, occurrences, activities. And so when you find yourself being human and complaining and criticizing, don't beat yourself up. We're having a human experience, so that happens. But use your list of 10 things that make you happy to shift your energy back into where you want to be and the direction in which you've decided to travel. Because the reality is, our thoughts and our feelings are driving what's happening in our experience all the time. We cannot escape from the creative power of our own thought. It just is not possible. So there's no use trying to do so. So when you know that, and when you really begin to believe that, then what happens is you empower yourself to use that. Use the creative power to choose your thoughts, to manage the direction you are going, to actually move toward happiness. That is how you use your free will in order to create this life that you love. You are the one who is in charge of your happiness. Take a breath. All the air just got sucked out of the room. It's like, you are in charge of your happiness. No, not me. Yes, you. No, not me. It's my mother's fault. It's that partner or spouse that I used to be with. They ruined my life. Oh, and you know my boss, I've been telling you about him. He's just like driving me crazy, right? No, 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 no. One of my taglines for one of my websites is something I say a lot, and I really believe it. No matter what situation you are in, you can find joy within. And when you recognize and accept that you actually are the one who is in charge of your happiness, you're the one, you'll find that inner direction that allows you to move from the bankruptcy or the foreclosure or the divorce or being laid off or losing a child or having a close relative pass on into their next experience. Whatever it is that is having you have an initial reaction of unhappiness, when you know that you are in charge of your happiness, it shifts everything. So you are free to be happy. That doesn't mean you ignore the circumstances around you. It means you just don't stay in them. So what I invite you to do is to tell the unhappy people or the unhappy part of you, tell the unhappy about the joy of the soul. Break the bonds of being imprisoned by whatever it is that generates a temporary sense of happiness. I love this quote from Ernest Holmes. Tell the unhappy of the joy of the soul and break the bonds of those who are in prison. You can do that. I can do that. All we have to do is choose to be well, happy, and to express freedom. That is what it means to be in alignment with, to be in accord with divine law and wisdom. Not human reaction, not human thinking, but divine law and wisdom. So that's where we're going this week, and I invite you to go with me. And if you can see the affirmations on the screen, I invite you to say them with me aloud and really take them in as your own. I am free to be happy. Turn away from false thinking. I turn toward truth. I choose to think good thoughts. I choose to look for the good. I choose to do good. I choose to be good. I choose to be happy. And let's take that into prayer. I choose to be happy. For what I know is that happiness, joy, peace, love, harmony, balance, wholeness, this is the true essential nature of the divine. The Creator is the perfect example of freedom and happiness, expressing continuously, always, eternally. I take this truth into my life, and we all take it together into our lives, knowing that having been created by this divine source of perfection, freedom, happiness is already within each one of us. And so in this very moment, I breathe in the power and the presence and the ability to be happy, to create a happy life. It is my will. It is my desire. And so in this moment, we commit together to create happy lives individually and collectively, to support one another along the path as we travel to today's happiness and the happiness unfolding every succeeding day. How grateful I am that together we can have this experience and we can step into alignment with universal law, universal love, and have lives that are indescribably happy. So let us release this word into the flow of the river of divine activity, knowing that as we set this intention, the universe has already said yes. The universe is saying yes and reconfiguring anything that needs to be reconfigured so that every cell, every atom, every molecule, every system, every activity, every thought, everything in our bodies and in our lives that needs to be reconfigured to be in alignment with this truth is already done. Take a breath and feel that happiness flow from the top of your head down through the tips of your toes and back up again. Yes, this is happiness. And if you, like me, are ready to accept that happiness into your daily experience, if we together can be happy, do happy things, be the example of happiness in the world, then I invite you to accept this truth, to allow it to be by saying with me, and so it is.